Hey there, my friend. It's Derrick here. Ever since I remember, I've always been the one who can see everything energetically, like beneath the surface, behind the words. I could never not see what was going on energetically. So I would walk into a room, I would immediately feel the tension of everyone in that room, all of the things that were unspoken or no one was naming out loud. I'd see like that little subtle flicker in someone's eyes that said one thing while their mouth was saying another. So for the longest time, I actually thought, why doesn't anybody else see this? Why are we pretending? Why are we settling for half truths, for mediocrity and false peace? That used to drive me crazy until I realized that this actually wasn't a curse. I was sacredly assigned to that. That is my spiritual gifts. I don't point out energy leaks and loose threads because I want to provoke people or make them uncomfortable or make them mad or whatever, right? I do it because I have such a deep level of love that I see what could be better, right? And those loose threads, that's actually where all of the truth ends up leaking out. And if we don't look at those leaks when they're little, then they become huge things. Those little tiny omissions of truth or pretending that things are okay when you need to talk. Those eventually become not just little leaks, but huge floods, right? Energy has to go somewhere. And I've always understood that on some level, even when I was a small child, not just intellectual, but viscerally, physically in my body and emotionally, spiritually. I was born a very highly intuitive soul from the time I came out of the womb. From day one, I could always feel everyone's intentions. I was born into a world where honesty about the inconvenient truths in life was punished. Nobody wanted that. Pretending and faking things was rewarded. So, yeah, as a kid, that really did feel like a curse. It was heavy, it was isolating, but through the years, through my own deep healing and introspection and service, I've come to see that's one of my greatest gifts. Sensitivity is a huge gift. Is that something that you also feel? Let me know in the comments. What has your experience been? Have you always been the black sheep or the one that saw everything in consciousness? So, if you're watching this and resonating with this, with every single word, you most likely are the same way. The most loving thing as human beings awakening to a higher level of consciousness on the planet, what we can do for each other is tell the truth and tell the truth about everything we see and feel. In our culture, sensitivity is gets equated with weakness. You know, if you're sensitive, you're weak, or you aren't fitting into a certain role or archetype. So you might hear a lot of the time, don't be so sensitive. One of the first shaming spells that I ever received, that's what it was. And what if sensitivity is not being fragile, but it's that you are very precise energetically? Nothing gets past you. And what if that is an exquisite high resolution instrument that's designed to read reality exactly as is? Alchemically speaking, your sensitivity is like mercury. It's fluid, it's adaptable, quicksilver. It responds to the slightest little shift in temperature or pressure. It moves between worlds, right? Translating the visible into, or the invisible into what you can actually see, taste, touch, smell, all of that good stuff. So to be sensitive is like being Mercury. You're adaptable, you're transformational, you get right down to the truth. So you're a sacred reflector. You're a very disruptor, I guess is the word, in a sacred way. I was just talking about this to a wonderful student last night. And that's not you being weak, that's you mastering your energy. So now let's talk about calling out the patterns. And I know people misunderstand this a lot. When I name a shadow pattern, it's not because I want to shame someone or tear them down or go against them. It's because I see potential, right? Like I wouldn't say something if I didn't care. When I say, hey, that piece right there, it wants to be looked at. It's asking to be looked at. So I'm literally holding up this mirror in the energy of love. It's not comfortable sometimes for me or for that person. I have to do this a lot of times with clients. I have to do this a lot of times with people in my life, right? So truth telling is a sacred way of being. It's alchemy. And in alchemy, that first stage is calcination, which is burning away everything that is false, everything that's not of the truth. Yeah, it feels like annihilation sometimes, but without it, you aren't ever going to get the gold. No new life, nothing real is ever lost by naming the truth. Think about that. Nothing real is ever lost by naming the truth. It's only going to expose what is false, what has been running under the surface as a shadow pattern. Only what's false can actually fall away. So, all true transformation begins with both light and dark. Life is a dance of the light and the dark. Sun and moon, sulfur and mercury, fixed and volatile. So you cannot become whole by rejecting half of your life experience, half of your energy, by just rejecting anything that scares you or feels a little bit uncomfortable. You're not the only person in the world. So really feel all of the energy around you. Your shadow is not your enemy. That holds some of your greatest and most amazing gifts. So that's the raw material for your awakening. The part of you that you're actually most ashamed of is probably going to be holding a key to your greatest power once you actually go in subconsciously and start journeying and pulling things out here and pulling things out there and moving things around and alchemizing all of that. So a lot of things get buried under these layers of fear and shame where you might not even see one of your greatest powers or your greatest gifts because you're too afraid to feel a little bit of temporary pain to get down to the meat of it. So when you integrate your shadow, you don't just fix yourself. You become more radiant, you become more trustworthy, you become a lighthouse for others. You want to be the lighthouse, not the tugboat, right? You're just there shining your light and allowing the right things to magnetize to you rather than being the tugboat and exerting all of this energy trying to pull it all to you and manipulate it to be the outcome you think you want that you think is best for you, but you never actually know anyway. So that's why I do the work I do through hypnotherapy, intuitive healing, bioenergetics. Every time one person integrates one of these shadow pieces, that shifts the energy of the entire collective because we're all one. So one shift shifts everything for everyone. One light that is hidden can't stay hidden. Combustion happens, healing unfolds. Now, I wonder if you can just imagine what the world would look like if everyone started to own their shadow. They stopped projecting crap onto others. They stopped numbing out just to not feel. They stopped blaming all of their problems on the scapegoat of the family. What would that world be like? Leaders would not thrive on division if we all looked inward and owned our shadow, because we would no longer be divisible. We would recognize the inherent oneness that we all share. So I've seen glimpses of this world psychically in my sessions, in my meditations that I do every morning. And yeah, it would be very, very shocking for so many people at first that we all started living this way and looking at what's real inside. But it would also be the most liberating freaking thing. It would be a beautiful experience that we all could have as a collective. So we would all rise together if that happened. I think that would be a great world. That's the world I want to live in. Creativity, compassion, abundance, all of that stuff would just flood in and flow so freely. That's the world I believe in. That's why I show up and speak truth, not to destroy, but to shine the light on those cracks and help you rebuild something even better, even more real and authentically you with your harmonic signature. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, wow, that's me too. If you've always been the one who cannot unsee the truth once you see it, just know you're not broken at all. You're part of humanity's energetic immune system, so to speak. And yeah, it gets very uncomfortable sometimes. It can feel isolating because sometimes the majority doesn't want to see the truth. So you could be the only one standing up and speaking the truth, but yet other people are going to be relieved that you spoke those things that they couldn't put into words or they didn't have the courage to say. So it helps everybody. And your sensitivity is a huge gift. Your perception is your superpower. It really is. Energy is everything. everything is consciousness, everything is energy. Where attention goes, energy flows. So you are the quicksilver. You are the beginning of a bigger transformation in your life and other people's lives. And even if nobody says thank you to you now, just know that you are building that world that everyone secretly longs for. You're just ahead of the curve. So here's my promise. I will continue to see. I will continue to keep naming those patterns without fear. I will continue to point things out, not to wound, but to heal. And I'm going to keep doing my shadow work and working on myself every day and doing my meditations alongside you because I need that just as much as the next person. So, my invitation to you is this, and that is this week, really reflect on these questions. What parts of you have you maybe been avoiding? Maybe because it isn't that comfortable to look at. What patterns do you see in others that might also live in you somewhere? And where can you choose courageous honesty over comfortable denial? So I'll leave you with those. This isn't about judgment. This is about freedom. And every time you integrate one of your shadow pieces, you're making that safer for the next person or the next person to do that same thing. That's how we all transform the collective humanity consciousness, one honest reflection at a time. So I'll leave you with one image. Imagine a forest fire. And at first glance, this forest fire is raging, things are burning up, but in truth, it's actually regenerating the land and the flames are clearing what is no longer in highest service for the forest. So they release those seeds that are needed to create that new lush, green, fresh growth. So that's what shadow work does. That's what you came here onto this planet and your soul incarnated into a body to do. And in the end, you're not destructing anything. You are giving yourself permission to follow through with the most loving act that your soul could ever even think of. So, thanks so much for being here and keep seeing, keep feeling what's real for you, and keep transmuting that energy. The world needs you now more than it ever has. So, I got you in this. Like the video if you want, subscribe to the channel if you want, and click the little bell so you know when new videos come out. And leave me a comment. What did this bring up for you in your energy field today? Sending you lots of love and healing light. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.